Hey, welcome back to the shop, everybody. We're talking 3D wall art today, and the way we get this done is with a laser. So check out the detail of this. Beautiful guitar, kind of a steampunk style, just crazy. That's 4 layers of wood that have been glued together. And I'm going to show you how to do something like this today. And look at this, just so incredibly cool. So we're going to be working on my brand new xTOOL P2S CO2 laser. I can tell you I've been kicking the tires. I love it. This thing is a beast. So we're going to do a tree of life today. I'll walk you through all the steps. And most importantly, I'm going to give you a couple of tips and tricks which will make your 3D art look better. If you're relatively new to lasers, you're probably wondering, how does Derek get all these cool files? Well, I wish I could tell you that I was so gifted I could create them. I'm not. I go to Etsy, and in this instance, I typed in Tree of Life SVG. I could also type in a multi-layered Tree of Life SVG, and it's going to come up with all these cool files. So, and they're inexpensive, anywhere from $2 to $10. So not a bad gig at all. Well, I located a file that I wanted, and that's exactly what we're going to work on. So I'm going to reposition the camera and show you how I get set up. And even though software is different with the xTOOL, the use of Creative Space software, my Monport uses Lightburn, but the steps are kind of the same idea. So let's get going. I'm in xTOOL's Creative Space software, and I have connected my laser to the software. You can see it right here. And what I need to do is open a file. And this is, again, very similar like in Lightburn or LaserBox. You have a process where you import a file. And I've already downloaded that beautiful SVG of the Tree of Life. So let's go find it. I'm going to go to Desktop, and I have a file called 3D Art. So I'm going to look for that particular file, which was the Tree of Life SVG 6-layer. And okay, I have layers 1 through 4. What the heck do I do with those? I always start with the bottom layer. And so think of that as the very first thing you're going to engrave. And that's typically the back of the art, the bottom of the art, if you will. So I double click on that and it pops up just fine. So I have an idea on what I want to do. I'd like a length of 16-inch. This is actually going to go in our house. And I can do, with my P2S, I can go, I think, 27 inches long. And I think my maximum width is something like 14 inches or something. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate this art like so. And I'm going to change the value here to 16. Now this will automatically scale here. And I simply need to get this aligned with my wood, so I'm not trying to cut or engrave outside of the area. In fact, the software will prevent me from doing so. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is tell the computer or the software what I'm going to be doing. And I want to be cutting. So I click Cut over here. And what am I cutting? In the Creative Space software, you've got this really cool library. You can tell it, I'm doing clear acrylic, or in this case, I'm going to be doing a black walnut base. Now I need to enter in a value as to what my speed and power settings are. And in this case, I'm going to be going 60% and 15 power. I've already pre-entered that for this kind of wood. It cuts perfectly this way. So let's check this out. I'm going to hit Process. And the cool thing with the Creative Space software is it gives me an idea of what the machine is going to do. What path is it going to follow? They call it a module trajectory. It also tells me it's going to take 3 minutes and 4 seconds. So that's really cool. Now with with the xTOOL, I have to hit Start and hit a button on top of my laser. And again, we're not going to go deep in the weeds on how to operate a P2S. We'll do that another time. But let's go ahead and cut this, and I'll show you what it does. Well, obviously I filmed that in time lapse, but again, it only took a little over 3.5 minutes. So check it out. If we had our settings properly, this is going to go ahead and be removed from the wood easily. Check this out. What a piece of cake. Beautiful cutting. Couldn't be happier with that. And if you check the wood, it didn't scorch, didn't burn. So it tells me my power settings are good and my laser is working properly. Uh, right now, that looks like fantastic detail. Wait until you see what we do next. Okay, this wood is called Bubinga, and this will be my next layer. This will be layer number 3. We just did number 4. And you know, one of the cool things about layered art is the artistic play comes into deciding which wood goes on which layer. And so that's where your artistic value is going to shine. So I'm going to go ahead and fire this laser up in for the next layer, and I'll show you how intricate it starts to get. This layer was over 13 minutes, and the reason being is that there's a lot more fine detail. So check this out. Again, another perfect cut. It's a real bummer, quite frankly, when things don't cut all the way through, and then it adds to quite a bit of more labor for you. So what I'll do is I'll make sure that I get all these little pieces out and then move on to my next layer. Here's a tip for you. So if you have a piece that isn't coming out properly, it's probably, well, it's cut all the way through. There's no problem there. It's just there's a lot of intricate stuff going on here. So I use an awl and just gently push so it pops right through. So there's a handy little tip. Man, that looks cool. As you can see, my crumb tray is getting filled with debris. So before I do the next layer, I'm going to go ahead and empty that out. That can become a fire hazard, and obviously we want to avoid that. Layers 4 and 3 are done, and now this is layer 2. This is teak, and here's a tip for you. I hope you can see that. This wood is warped, and that is a problem because the laser focuses on the wood itself, the 3mm piece of wood, and when you start changing the height of the wood, your laser is no longer properly in focus, and it may work out just fine or it may be a problem. My Monport was very finicky with that. I don't know about the P2S yet, but xTOOL sent me these little clamps, and they're a little awkward to work with, but they'll work. And so I'm going to clamp this wood down to make sure that this wood is as flat as it can humanly be. So I'm going to do that off camera, and then we'll get back to it. Well, that 15-minute cut session did a great job. Look, there's no scorching. Everything looks really pretty. So I'm going to get this out. I'll clean everything out, make sure that we're good to go. And our final layer, which is layer number 1, that will be a maple layer. I'm going to go ahead and cut that off camera. I'm going to bring you back when we start to assemble everything. Excuse me, I'm going to show you how to index all this properly so it looks perfect every time. And then we're going to go ahead and apply a finish, and put the hanger on the back, and we'll get this up on a wall. The laser did a fantastic job. I couldn't be happier with that. Hooray for the xTOOL. So now I've got to glue all this stuff together, and we don't want it to look like that. It's got to be perfect. And I've created my own method to do this, and it's very handy, super easy. I'm going to pan down right now, and you can follow along with me. So what I did is I made a very simple jig out of using your basic shelving material from the big box store, and I picked up some 1/8" rod, and also I just used an 1/8" drill bit. So what I did is I laid out my bottom layer of wood, and I'm thinking, well, how do I index this so it'll work perfectly every time? And I made a couple of marks, drilled my holes, and I got these rods and I just banged them in just ever so lightly. And then the trick is to go ahead and make sure that these are true, as this one is not. You want them so that they're straight up and down so it doesn't make your glue up cockeyed. Okay, so it indexed nicely here. Let's see what happens when we put on another layer. There we go. Now, everything is aligned flawlessly. And if I just keep doing this, it'll show you very quickly how this all comes together. It's really slick. So if you had a more intricate piece, you could have a few more of these rods put in. This is just the 2 rods is going to be perfect for me. And we're going to go ahead and do our glue up now. One thing you want to pay attention to is everything fitting properly? Is it laying down flat? If it isn't, find the layer that's not right. You probably have a crumb sticking out the back, and you need to remove that little piece that didn't fall out. There you go. Okay, we're going to glue right now. Now there's a couple ways to do this. I could have used the 3M tape and that would have secured everything. It's expensive. So I prefer to use Star Bond, and this is the medium thick and it's a brown. And I don't use the activator, but what I do is this. Okay, so this is my top. I want to flip this over and I'm going to apply some Star Bond in a bunch of different areas. And I want to retain the glue inside the wood areas. I prefer not to slop out, but if it happens, it's not the end of the world, and you'll see why when we do the actual finish. So I've got a really old funky bottle of Star Bond that I'm just about done with, and I'm going to go ahead and just start running dabs. It takes a minute, but you kind of get the idea. I'm going after some of those thicker spots. And this works really, really well. Once I get this on top of the layer, I'm going to go ahead and get some weights and weight this down to make sure that it's flat and glues up just so nice. Okay, let's do this. This is usually when I get glue on my fingers. Okay, I've got this thing properly indexed. Got to give it a little squish. Make sure everything is good to go. And let me grab my weights. So I'll let this sit for about 10 minutes and it should be good to go. Yeah, everything looks really nice. Well, the first glue up went perfectly. Totally happy with that. It is flush. It's just awesome. So I'm going to go ahead off camera. I'm going to go ahead and glue these other 2 layers on. I'm going to bring you back and I'm going to show you how I finished this wood. Well, the glue up is flawless. You can see that it indexed perfectly. Just what we wanted. So that jig is super beneficial. There's a great tip for you. Now, let's say that you had a flaw. You know, this is plywood, it's a veneer, and if your laser didn't cut all the way through, or there was just an imperfection in the wood, you would have like a light color. And the way to fix that is a brown Sharpie. In fact, I would get a brown Sharpie and a black Sharpie. What I've done when I've had some little boo-boos is I'll go through and I'll just touch it up with a tip, and I'll get a little black on there as well, and then quickly just wipe it. It kind of knocks down the color, makes it blend in to the color of the wood. Okay, we're going to go outdoors now and put the finish on this. I use a Rust-Oleum satin clear enamel, and what I'll do is I'll use 2 coats for the front and just 1 coat on the back. I'm not terribly concerned about the back. The top coat, the first coat, I should say, is I'm going to try to hit all the angles, make sure that I'm getting in there and getting things covered. My second coat is going to be making sure that I hit all of these flat spaces here, and it'll work out perfectly. Now, if you had some glue that spooged out over here, something like that, not to worry. You know, the glue is a little bit on the glossy side, but The clear enamel here is going to just kind of cover it all. It's going to bring the sheen up a little bit in the wood, and it's all got to blend in. So let's go outside and get this done. We're so close. I'm going to spray the sides first. Less is more right now. And we're going to go ahead and let this sit for about 15 minutes. Come back and hit it with one more coat. Let's get that second coat on. Just like that. Time for our last step. We're going to go ahead and put on a hanger. And what I'm going to do is just find my center. There we go. And because this is plywood, I'm definitely not going to be putting a screw down in here. I'm going to glue this hanger. This weighs hardly anything, so it's no big deal. So I'm going to put a drop in each of those holes, and then I'm going to spray some accelerator, the Acfix. There we go. Give that 15 seconds, and we're wrapped up. What a cool project. It turned out really nice, and it's going to get hung on a wall right now. So with this kind of art, I've sold almost everything I've made. So there is a demand for it. So if you're thinking about getting a laser, or if you have a laser, yeah, why don't you dabble? Give it a try, see what you think. Um, hey, if you're not already following my page, please hit subscribe and hit the bell to get all my notifications. I greatly appreciate it. Got plenty more coming up. The xTOOL. If you ever want to talk to xTOOL and find out a little bit more detail, feel free to contact me. I'm readily available and I'd be more than happy to help you out. All right, guys, we're going to see you next time. Thanks so much.